Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm one of your co-hosts, Rico Borrego.
I am your other co-host, Tony Borrego.
And this is the podcast known as Relatively Sound, the podcast that will possess your heart. Today, Tony and I are back with our monthly series, Album for Album. The episodes where we give each other an album for the month, and we listen to it, and we give our opinions on it. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about my recommendation for Tony, and that is Death Cab For Cutie's album, Narrow Stairs, their sixth studio album released in 2008. Really quick, I will mention my history with the band. Being from Washington, of course, Death Cab is a Washington band. So, heard them a good amount on the radio, whether it was their songs, I'll Possess Your Heart, which is from this album, or I'll Follow You Into the Dark, Kath. I saw them live. My first ever concert was the Seattle Deck the Hall Ball that the radio station, I think 107.7 The End puts on every year in December. And that was my first concert. And I saw Core Kids. I saw Death Cab For Cutie. And I saw the Killers. And the Killers were like the main reason I was going, but I fell in love with the Core Kids when I saw them. And Death Cab, I was the opposite. When I saw them live for the first time, was not the biggest fan of them. And I think partially it was just I didn't know their songs that well. They played some of their non-hits. And I was just so tired of standing at that point as it being my first concert and it being kind of like a festival concert that I was just so ready for the Killers to go on, who were at that time my favorite band. But since then, I was actually, our sister Tessa kind of got me into them by introducing me to this album, Narrow Stairs. And then over the years, especially over the last couple years, I've really gotten into them, given all their albums a listen. I own all their albums on vinyl. Their recent album that came out last year, Asphalt Meadows, fantastic. And I thought I'd give Tony this album because it's my favorite Death Cab album. And Death Cab right now are celebrating their anniversary, I think 20 years of their album Transatlanticism, and the Postal Service, which is Ben Gibbard's side band, 20 years of their one and only album called Give Up. So I thought it was kind of timely to give Tony his first full Death Cab album. Tony,
real quick,
what is your relationship with this band?
Well, hang on. How did Tessa find out about this band?
I know growing up, the first time I heard their music was seeing on VH1 their music video for I Will Follow You Into the Dark. And then some years later, seeing the music video for I Will Possess Your Heart. And I think we bought them on iTunes, back in the day when I would actually buy only a couple songs from a band and then put them on our iPods. And I think she liked it enough that I don't know if it was from the library or I think she maybe went to some record CD store, maybe Half Price Books. She, I think, bought a CD copy of Narrow Stairs. We'd have to text her or ask her how exactly, but I want to say that's how she got the album. And she listened to it and loved it. And then I know one night she was just like, "Hey, I'm really into this album. You want to hear it?" And I was kind of blown away off the first track. But unlike Tessa, I have the hunger to go and listen to other albums from them where she kind of didn't. So then I kind of introduced her to some of their other works. And I know she doesn't know all their albums, but I know everything she heard from them, she loves. And my opinions kind of vary differently, but.
Okay.
I assume you probably knew some of their hits, some of the ones I mentioned, but as far as I know, you've never heard.
I only know I Will Possess Your Heart. I don't know what the heck I Will Follow is, and I did not know what Kath was. And now that I do know what Kath is, I never heard it before.
Okay, maybe after this episode, you should listen to just a small bit of I Will Follow You Into the Dark, because I swear to you that you'll recognize it.
Maybe. And there's one more relationship I have with it, is that you and I used to play No Sunlight together.
Oh, yeah.
Which I did like that song.
So you did, I don't know if you ever heard the studio version, but it's a simple song if you're just learning the bass or just learning the rhythm guitar part. So and you and I did play that live like, at our house and stuff a couple times. I meant when I said live, I didn't mean like, at a show.
Like we didn't record it, we just performed it.
No, but yeah. So yeah, you technically kind of knew that song, and then you said you knew I'll Possess Your Heart. So, but yeah, kind of surprising for a band from, our home state you didn't know more from. But again,
no, I will say this
indie
though.
rock, so they're not the biggest band out there. They're not as big as like the Killers.
That's true. I will say though that I have had interest in getting into them, or at least giving them a listen, because not only do you guys like them, as you and Tessa, but also though it's something that kind of would appeal to me, because I would kind of consider him someone to be like a singer songwriter with kind of like a band behind them, like an Elliott Smith in that way. And they've always stuck out in the sense, like I think Ben's got a really distinctive voice that is really cool. And so I was kind of got to the point where I was kind of waiting for you to give me a Death Cab, and it finally came.
Yeah, I know you mentioned it one time when we were talking about albums we were giving each other, when we first started doing this podcast, and one of them was you mentioned was like, oh yeah, down the road you'll probably give me a Death Cab, or I think you said you would want me to give you a Death Cab, and I almost gave you their most recent album, the one that came out last year, because I love it, and it might even be my second favorite from them. But I was like, I think I need to give you kind of more of what is considered a classic, and I would say this is probably like their last classic album before fans will probably start saying everything past this. There are some fans that don't love them as much after this album, and I could have given you like their biggest album, which is Transatlanticism, which is like the starting point for a lot of fans for this band, but it's never been like a favorite of mine. And even though like it's most people's favorite from them, I don't know. And I just didn't think you'd appreciate it as much. And I kind of just thought this album you would appreciate the most. And it's my favorite. And it's what I recommend people when they want to get into this band. So I think it has a little bit of everything to offer when it comes to this band, because their first couple albums, they're very indie rock. They're almost like lo-fi production.
Like, oh, really? Lo-fi?
Yeah. Yeah. There's some lo-fi moments for sure. Like I think the first song on either the first or second album, it literally sounds like a demo. But I didn't want to give you one of those because I do find the first couple albums a little boring, just because like the instrumentation isn't as like vivid as like some of the songs in this album or later albums. And the production sometimes is a little not exciting enough for me. I just find their songs past Transatlanticism more memorable for the most part. But there's some fans who prefer their earlier work, but I kind of prefer like their middle to later work more.
Okay, I didn't know that. That was cool to hear. One more thing I did forget though is when I saw Brian Wilson live, Ben actually came on stage to do backup vocals.
Oh, what song?
It was when they were doing, I believe it was when they're doing like their surf medley where they like sample a bunch of their old surf hits. So I'm sure he did backup vocals on Surfing USA, which is kind of funny to think about.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't know if I would have thought that like Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys was like an influence to Ben, but he has a lot of different musical tastes that I've noticed over the years. Like he's really into REM. I know like they've covered REM a ton, and one time he covered a Tragically Hip song when he was in Canada doing a solo show. I kind of think it was just for that reason alone. Like I don't know. I mean, there is a connection. The guitarist for Death Cab at the time of this album, Chris Walla, who also kind of produced like most of their albums by himself or with Ben.
Oh, wow.
He produced one of Gord Downey's solo records. So
that's pretty cool.
That might have been the introduction, but yeah, it's, and I know like he's a fan of like the Beatles and whatnot. So, so what did you think of the album?
Right, I know that was a little bit long introduction, but it was worth it because I quite enjoyed this album actually.
Ooh, okay. You didn't give me a lot to go off of this last couple of weeks, and I know we've been kind of busy, and
I tried to bring my poker face here.
I was kind of afraid that this was going to be kind of more on the lower list of the albums that we've given each other over the last year. So I was a little afraid that you were going to say you were underwhelmed by it, but it sounds like you were,
I think I was like underwhelmed. The correct amount of whelmed.
You were just whelmed.
Yeah, I think I was at like the correct amount. I didn't overhype it, but I also knew that I was up to hear some good songwriting I was expecting, kind of based off how you described them. Um, so, I mean, let me just say right off the bat, something that I want to address just to get off is that I do not like the band name.
Yeah, I can't remember where it comes from. I know they've answered it in interviews before, but yeah, Death Cab for Cutie. It's a long band name. It's so kind of like, what the hell does it mean? Yeah, I don't love it either. I just call
Yeah,
him Death Cab for short normally.
which sounds much better, honestly. So now that that's out of the way, something I think was really great was the production, because it kind of reminded me of like an Elliott Smith record. Not that it sounds like it, but it's like here's these songs that are written by someone that you would call a songwriter, and then here's a band that's kind of making it rock. I really dig that type of stuff, and so having the super thick bass, with like these crisp guitars, but not quite like British level crisp. Um, a lot of the overdubs were like really low key throughout the album, which was kind of worrying me at first, but it actually was super effective, I think, for the songs. Yeah, the drums were pretty loud, but it works. It works. And the reason I'm kind of cranking these out is because I feel like all the songs really sound cohesive. That was something that really surprised me. Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about the production on it? I think it's pretty great, actually.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, Chris Walla, their guitarist, who did leave after they recorded their album Kintsugi, he is like responsible, I think, for let me just do a little fact check. Yeah, I mean, he's produced all of their albums. I think
like even after he left, or
no. Like Kintsugi
okay.
was the like. Well, it's actually weird. Okay, I take that back. Kintsugi was the last album he was featured as a guitarist. He didn't actually end up producing that. They went to an outside producer, but all the way up until that album, he's like the sole producer. So it's very interesting to have a bandmate do your production. Like they never, up until Kintsugi, they never went to like a big name, like what are some of our favorite producers? Rick Rubin, Brendan O'Brien, Adam Casper. Like they didn't do, especially Adam Casper, Seattle. Like that would have been, like you think that'd be their go-to guy, but no, like, and since he's left, they have gone to different producers, but and that's kind of where some of their albums have had faults since Chris Walla has left. But
oh, you think so?
So some of them, their last album I thought was mixed pretty perfect, but like the album before that, which was the first one without Chris Walla, yeah, it was lacking some production choices. But yeah, I think on this album, Narrow Stairs, I pretty much love everything going on with the production. And I will agree that, yeah, maybe the drums are a little loud, but
it works here.
Yeah, and up to this point, there was only 4 of them. So, and I've always said Death Cab's rhythm section is underrated. Like, I think the bass and drums are always on point, even if the song is maybe a bit slower or not as engaging. I think the rhythm's always great. And even though I don't know if I agree with your Elliott Smith comparison, just because I guess I don't know enough of his albums, I will say Ben has covered one of his songs before, so he's probably a fan.
Which one? If I had to guess, I would say Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed, but no, it was Waltz number 2.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I could see that. Now that you mention
it, you mentioned Ben Gibbard has a unique voice, and I kind of agree. And I kind of think it is kind of like an Ellie Smith, where it's like softer and a little higher.
Right. It's a clean vocal. I mean, yeah. Ben is very, very clean sounding.
So, was that something you enjoyed throughout this album listening?
So yeah, I did. I was excited to see how he would do like a whole album of songs, because like, like the way he sings and the way the band, they have a sound, at least like for this album, like, and I think he did a really good job. I kind of wish there was maybe a few more, like if he could change up his delivery a little more. Like it's very stylistic. But that's why I really like the song like Long Division, where like the chorus he's doing kind of like a rock vocal thing when he's doing the remain. Yeah,
it goes higher and higher. Yeah.
Right, like that was really fun and engaging, where I feel like pretty much all the other songs were more so, here are these nice lyrics I wrote, and then let me sing them appropriately.
Yeah,
Um,
I can agree with that. And my biggest thing with his vocals, and the reason why I don't maybe put him higher up on my list of like favorite bands, is that I kind of agree with you. Sometimes his deliveries can be sometimes too similar to one another, and that's because I feel like he maybe could have a bigger range. Like I do think he could belt it out more, but he chooses not to. So whenever he does, it's great. But yeah, sometimes on even just a whole album, yeah, like there's not enough where he's like letting loose too much. And I don't know if that's all he can do or if it's like a stylized choice. But I do agree with you that like sometimes it can be a little much of the same.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure if you'll get this, but his falsetto on a couple of the songs, I think like Talking Bird, to me it kind of sounds like Drew Monson.
You're gonna have to remind me who
You don't know who
that
Drew
is.
Monson is?
Uh-uh.
He's just like some YouTuber. He's not that active anymore.
Hold on, let
But
me
he
just
like worked with like Trisha Paytas. Like I think they did some collabs.
um oh, that guy? I recognize him. I did not know he did music.
He does music. A lot of it like of his videos. Like one of them at the end, he was doing like Omega thing, and then whatever the people said in their conversation, he like made a song about them.
Mm.
So
Just
yeah,
just being super artificial and judging him just the way he looks. He does look like someone that would be a Death Cab fan.
yeah. You know what? It probably does check out. He's really into the Beach Boys, so represent.
Well, there we go. But yeah, tell me, either in your first experience, like what were some of your thoughts on some of these songs? Whether you want to give me some of your favorites first, some of your least favorites, or ones that grew on you. Like let's dive into some of these songs.
All right. So I will say something that was a great experience is I was driving to work. I had like a 50 minute drive, right? So I'm like, the perfect time. Let me play the album. And the first like 5 songs are bangers. Like it hit hard. That's what I was not expecting was the impact of these songs. So like starting with the first song, Bixby Canyon Bridge. Like it started off like kind of a song, not like low key, but it was just minding its business. But then the song starts to pop off, and it gets pretty awesome throughout. I don't really know what the lyrics mean in that song, but they sound cool.
Can I make a confession?
Yes.
This is my favorite Death Cab song of all time.
Of all time, you can't just drop that on me like that.
It's so good. I could go on and on. I'm not just just so we don't. This episode isn't like 3 hours long, but yeah, I love this song. So the first song on the album when Tessa showed me this album, this was the song that, because I already knew "I'll Possess Your Heart," the second track, the follow up, but this song was like, whoa. I'm like, I thought this band just played kind of like soft indie rock. Like this is like a great song. Like you said, it builds and just everything about it.
It's kind of like Coldplay.
Kind of. I think the drums are a little better than Coldplay, but like everything about the song is just fantastic. And lyrically, if you read the lyrics, they're not too. It's just kind of about. It sounds like it's about a breakup, but he talks about it kind of vaguely. So it's like if you're just kind of tuning into the lyrics every now and again, you might not put it together. But he drops, Bixby Canyon Bridge is like an actual bridge. He's talking, San Francisco, like he's kind of giving you locations. But the outro of the song is just pure bliss to me. Like it could go on for 2 hours and I would love it. Like the little EBO, the way it mimics the vocals at the end where he does the dream. Like,
I didn't know that was an EBO.
Yeah, the crashing guitar cymbals at the end, the bass going off, but even the part before it gets crazy, I just love like the arpeggios in the chorus. Love those. Like when they first come in, because the song just starts with like what, kind of just guitar strums, but then those arpeggios
like the
come
ambient
in.
sound.
Yeah, which I think maybe is also an EBO. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, then those arpeggios come in the chorus. His falsetto, like you said, works perfect for the song, but then the ending, it gets rock. Like, yeah, I love the song.
That's something I wanted to see more of, was them get rock.
Yeah, and that's the problem. There's not even one specific album where they do that. They just kind of tease it on all their albums. Yeah.
See, and like, okay,
every album has a couple bangers, but then that's it. And by banger, I don't mean just good song. I mean like a heavy rock explosive song.
Right. And I thought it was a bold move, because like they did the dynamic thing by making it go rock at the end, but they really like kept that rock section instrumentally going. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm so happy to see this. What I don't think was quite a smart move was putting a 4.5 minute loop of instrumental to begin the second song, when that actual song in it is just more of the same section.
Yeah, this song is, I'm surprised how divided it makes the fan base, because people either love the song like me or Lindsay. And then there's some people who don't love the song. I think Tessa, I don't think this is actually one of her favorites. And there's some people in the fan base who just, they don't care for the song. A lot of people hate the lyrics in the song because they sound kind of creepy, stalkerish. But I think that's the point. I think like the Killers with like Jenny Was a Friend of Mine, like he's wrote this character who is like giving off creepy vibes. But I
really do like the lyrics for the first two verses. I remember in particular, like I think there is good lines.
Yeah, and the love is, or what is it like? I should have the lyrics pulled up where he's like, I'm gonna pull them up really quick.
The potential of you and me is like a book elegantly bound, but in a language that you can't read.
Yes, that's the line. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic lyric.
Very, very much.
But I kind of thought you would have liked the instrumental, because yes, it is just kind of like it's loop, but there's dynamics and it does build. Like it just maybe does it, because a song, for people who don't know the song, it's 8 minutes and 25 seconds. That's a long song. And the first, like 3 almost full minutes is just instrumental.
No, it's 4.5 minutes.
4.5 minutes. Yeah. Just begins with like a loop.
So I believe the radio edit is the correct version. That's if that was there, I think it's perfect.
No, I love the instrumental. I'm not always in the mood to listen to it because of that. I will agree with you there, but like I think it fits perfect on the album, and I kind of like that because like I don't think Ben Gibbard is the strongest point of this band. Actually, I kind of think they all work together so well, but he's not one of those frontmen who I think dominates or leads the band. So I'm totally okay with like
that's a good statement.
I'm okay with the ending of Bixby, like the last 2 minutes almost being instrumental, except he does sing again at the end. And then the first 4 minutes of the next song also being mostly instrumental. So I'm okay with that. But yeah, there is a radio edit, obviously, because the song was the lead single. And obviously radio station is going to play a 8-minute song.
And don't get me wrong, it's not awful or anything. Like when I was saying I listened to this on my drive to work for the first time, and like after I heard the first track, and it went into this, I was grooving the whole time. I think it does work. I think the only problem for me is that considering the intro is the same as the rest of the song, it makes this really long intro feel more like it's like a dance remix of the track or something, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. But I don't know. But it's cool, though. It is cool. I'm not saying it's bad, but I think in general, just give me the song.
I can understand that. But I'm at least you like the rest of the song because...
And I do like the intro. Don't get me wrong. It's not bad, I promise. But
because there's some people who just don't like any part of the song, but it sounds like you like all of it. It's just like you don't need 4 full minutes of the intro, which I can understand. But
at least shave off 2 minutes. Like it doesn't have to be.
I love the dynamic with that bass line, with the drums, with the keyboard and the guitars kind of going back and forth, kind of like a call and response. I love that.
I will say this: the bass line isn't something that I would instinctually play. Like it's nothing weird or difficult, but like for some reason, just like the phrasing of it and the placement of the notes is just not something that I would naturally do. But it's cool though. It's very catchy. Good bass riff.
Yeah, love the song, and it goes hard live too. We saw them live. I saw them for the second time live last year, and yeah, that song is killer live.
Oh, they have to play that every night, right?
Yeah, and they mostly do. Yeah, it's like, and they do the full version. They don't do like a radio edit.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Live. Yeah. There's no reason not to do the full intro. So, yeah. So another song that I really enjoyed, like I did really like Bixby Canyon. I wouldn't put it. I don't know if I would say top 3, maybe, but what I would put top 3 though is Kath. I really like Kath.
Yeah, Kath is
Loved it.
another like classic. Yeah, Kath is it's so good.
So I heard the riff and I was like, all right, when I get home, I'm gonna learn this. I have not yet, but I plan to.
I've actually learned it's for me, who I'm definitely more of an intermediate guitar player than I would say you. I'm able to play a kind of, I'm sure, like a somewhat simplified version of it. And it's fun to play. Yeah, it's a great riff. But you're gonna need your capo though. You're gonna need your capo.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
I
the
knew
capo
something was
second
weird.
fret.
I was like, he's not doing a different tuning. They're not an open tuning band.
It's just a capo on the second fret because you hit some open notes with like hammer-ons and stuff to give it that sound.
Yeah, it sounds killer. The tone's great. Honestly, like I really like when it gets rock and it starts just doing those down strums. Like that's really cool. Yeah, exactly. That part, I heard that and I was like, awesome. I would love to see more of this in the album. Which we'll get to later. But yeah, so the only thing I really had with this one is I don't always love that 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 lyrical idea about, like, I know I'm oversimplifying it, but like she stays with a bad guy and she should go away from him, but she doesn't. Like, I don't know. I don't think that's always the most interesting for lyrics, just in my personal taste. Nothing wrong with it. But it's not bad, though. It's not bad lyrically at all.
I think it has good lines, though. Like, I agree with you, but there's some good lines. Like,
holds a smile like a crying child.
Yeah, that's a great line. Or,
that's great.
He puts his hand on the small of her back. Like,
what does that mean? What does that mean?
Like, you have a small of your back, like the lower part of your back.
That's called the small of your back?
I believe so.
The hell? Okay.
I might be wrong, but I it's like a real thing. Like,
I'll believe you for now.
But no, like, and so I agree with you. And a lot of these songs on this album lyrically aren't. There's a couple that are standout, but like, I kind of just think the lyrics fit each song musically so well. But yeah, they're not. We're not talking like Bruce Springsteen level lyrics.
Yeah, and I think I mean, what I noticed is that all the songs, whether or not, my opinion is more favorable or not favorable, they're all quality. And I think all the lyrics are good. Even when he writes about something that maybe I don't have the most interest in, he expands on it, kind of like a monologue. Like, it feels fleshed out, and then it doesn't feel like generic or anything. I really respected that.
Wait, you're not into Long Division? That doesn't excite you?
Not anymore.
I think maybe the coolest thing about Kath when it comes to like the lyrics or the title is that it's spelled Kath, like just CATH, but then it has a ... after it as like on the official title.
I was kind of curious about that. Do you have any backstory for that?
I don't. I've never looked it up. I don't know if there actually is a backstory besides the fact that maybe it just has to do with the lyrics about how like she could be with someone better, or she could just be a better person if she wasn't with this, person that she married. Like, I don't, like the ... kind of etc. to me leads me to believe like there's more to the story kind of, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, or almost kind of like when he starts off singing, he just says Kath, and then there's like that pause.
Oh,
like, if you're going to talk to someone, you're like,
yeah, that's
Kath.
a good point. Yeah, that's a
Let
good
me
point.
tell you something.
Kind of fits with the style in which he delivers the lyrics. That's a good point. But yeah, Kath is great. They also play that like every night. We saw it when they played it when we saw them last year. Fantastic song. One of my favorite, probably my third favorite on the album. I actually think my top three favorites are in order of the track list. I think it's 1, 2, 3. Even though I think Kath probably is a better song than Opposite Your Heart because it's more to the point. Opposite Your Heart was like one of the first songs that got me to the band, so I always have a soft spot for that. But yeah, Kath is a classic for sure. And I actually lied. I forgot that No Sunlight is number 3, but it's still like my favorite would be Bixby and then Opposite Your Heart and then Kath. Not that I dislike No Sunlight, but
not to just kind of just summarize anything, but like, I'm not gonna lie, my top 5 list would literally be this, and not in any order, but it would be the first 4 songs and Long Division. And I know I feel awful for saying that because that's all the rock songs, but I think those are the ones that excite me the most.
Wait, that's not all the rock songs.
Well, there's one more, and maybe we can jump into that one.
No, Long Division is a favorite of mine too. Like, especially if we're looking at like if we're cutting the album in half at like maybe Grapevine Fires being like the first side on the first song on the second side, which I think it is on the vinyl. Like Long Division is one I love. I love the I mean we can talk about Long Division now. Like I love how upbeat it is. I love the lyrics. Like yeah, he's talking about just like a relationship or a breakup, but he's talking it in terms of like math and long division and um you know what is the remainder of like the relationship, but like in the terms of like math. So and bass line's fantastic. I love the little guitar riffs, but
No, but what I thought was really sick was that like when it starts off, like yeah, it has like that crunchy rhythm section, but like that there's a really cool moody guitar arpeggio going on that like it's a really unique mood. But then they get upbeat, just like it's a rock song, and it's like it's one of those upbeat but not too happy sounding ones. Like I don't know, I just really dig it.
and did you like that part kind of near? I think it's like right before the last like pre-chorus or chorus where it gets like kind of really extra rock, like the strumming on one of the guitars is just kind of going ham. I don't know if you know what part I'm talking about. Like it just kind of gets like the strumming of the guitar gets like faster and faster, but like the rest of the instruments aren't. Like the drums and bass are still playing the same like rhythm tempo. But yeah, there's a part where like the guitar, and it's kind of more in the background. Like the production makes it not so.
Oh, okay. I think I hear it. Yeah, he's like.
No, that's okay. That sounded like the SpongeBob episode. With
Get out of here.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, Dotterly.
Yeah.
The greatest. So, no, Long Division, a big fan. Yeah,
I kind of thought you would like that because it's like, yeah, it's just kind of a simple pop rock song. Like it's very poppy, it's very upbeat, but it just works so well. And the chorus is just simple. Like it's not as wordy as like the rest of the verse. It's just like remainder,
But the rest of the song is written skillfully enough that chorus feels meaningful. It doesn't feel like you're just singing baby or whatever ad lib you want over and over. Yeah, I mean, honestly, because I keep saying honestly, but it's true. When this band does the rock songs with the good songwriting, like that's what I like to do. That's like my goal, to make a song where the songwriting is solid, the lyrics are good, the music isn't too heavy or scary, but it's not too pop and lightweight. So really love these songs we've been talking about.
So then let's get to a song it sounds like you don't love, and I think this is going to be where we disagree the most on this album, because you said you loved all the rock songs, but there was one of the rock songs you did not list in your favorites, and that is the penultimate track on the album called Pity and Fear. What did you think of that song?
And I sent you a little background here. I sent you a screenshot of me listening to the song. And this song reminds me of another song. Okay. It greatly reminds me of the song Friends by Led Zeppelin, which, if you're not familiar with that one, is kind of the same vein as Lightning Song from Queens of the Stone Age.
But I wouldn't think Lightning Song sounds like this song though. So the fact, hold on, I'm gonna pull up.
Look up Friends by Led Zeppelin
on Spotify while you talk about it here.
So what I liked about this song is that it was the variety that the album needed. Now, I think what holds it back from going in my top 5 is I don't love the lyrics. They're not my favorite. They're not bad, of course. Once again, no bad lyrics, no bad songs on this album. But the lyrics are lacking for me. The song's a bit repetitive, but it's a very cool soundscape. And I think, the song ends very suddenly. It just cuts off after this kind of big loop of the fully fleshed out music. I like that it cuts off suddenly. It sets up the next song well, which I'm sure we'll get to. And I think it's a good song, but it's just one of those songs where you can't say it's better than the other songs. This song is one of those experienced
You didn't hate it then,
ones.
because I was afraid you hated it.
No. It just really reminded me of Friends from Led Zeppelin.
See, I just listened to a clip, and I think that Friends by Led Zeppelin and Lightning Song by Queens, I think those sound similar, but I think the only thing that made they both sound similar to this song for you is because I think all 3 songs like borrow a like I don't know how to describe it, but you know
They
how
like they're like using the same scale or something, or
yeah, which is like I think a scale that's used in another like type of music. Like, I don't know if it's like Indian music that I'm thinking of, but like you know how certain scales are like modes are made for like
culturally used.
culturally,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think all three borrow from whatever that same mode or scale is, modulation, whatever the technical term I'm looking for. But um, I love that. I think this song is underrated. I wouldn't put it on my top five, but it's up there. Like I like how dark and brooding it is. And yeah, it's kind of the same, but I just like how dark it is. And I think this second half of the album needed another kind of banger of a song when it comes to like a rock song. The only thing I
Right.
hate about the song is I hate the ending. And because
Really?
the only thing you didn't mention with the ending is it doesn't just abruptly end. The last second that it ends, it cuts off, but the volume like increases like a lot.
Let me check this out. Let me check this out.
Like it's like just and then it cuts off, but it goes like like really loud.
Oh, okay, okay. So that
And,
wasn't just me hearing that. Like,
no, and it's because they said in the studio they had as they were recording the song something like malfunctioned in the whatever they were using to record the song, and like or something about like the tape cut off or something happened to where they had like a glitch and that was what it sounded like when they went to listen back to it, and the band thought that sounded cool, so they kept it in.
okay, yeah, I could see, you
Which
know,
is
you're
funny,
doing
but
it with your band, which is I would see that being a, you know,
but
that is kind of the
I
move.
hate it because it's like a jump scare, and even when I know it's coming, especially, and now when if I'm listening to it on speakers, I don't care as much. But if I'm in the car, or especially if I have headphones in and the song comes on, I sometimes when like right when there's like 5 seconds left, I'll just skip it because I don't like that increase of no volume spike. You know, especially because the next song it goes from this really kind of rock heavy sound to like a very quiet, clean electric guitar that's really like slow and pretty and stuff. So, and it is a good like juxtaposition, but um,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to get
you know,
louder. It's
yeah.
yeah, way more noticeable on headphones.
Um, so and then I guess if you want to briefly, you said the first five, right? And then Long Division are like your favorites. Is that what you said, right?
Um,
Or
uh,
the first four? Or did you say five?
one, two, three, I guess five, really.
Okay, so you like Talking Bird.
Wait, am I? Oh no, I'm so sorry. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I counted wrong. I
So
counted my notes listed as for production as a song.
okay, so the first
Fantastic.
four you like a lot, and then
Yeah,
and then
Talking Bird was the first song where when I heard it on the album, I was what is the word?
it's my least
Underwhelmed?
favorite. It's my least favorite on the album.
Really?
I had another least favorite, and then over the last like year, the song grew on me, and we'll talk about that song in a little bit. But Talking Bird was always one of my least favorites, and today it's still my least favorite. It's just it's a little bit more reminiscent of some of their older, like or some of their earlier, material. But yeah, it's just kind of it doesn't go anywhere for me. It's kind of just a slow kind of monotone sound that I don't love. I don't dislike it. I enjoy the song when it comes up on the album, but I never listen to it outside of the album. Like never.
Right. Yeah. Like this song for me, I was really bored by it on the first listen, and I like it now. It only took a couple listens to kind of understand it more. Um, I will say I do really dig the bass chords throughout the song. I like bass chords. They sound great.
I didn't even notice that he's
Wait.
like playing bass chords.
Maybe he's not. I don't know. I thought he did.
He probably does. He's a bass player where I could see him doing that. Like, I'm just the fact that you noticed it probably means he does do it.
Yeah, or maybe it was a different song I'm thinking of. But anyways, point being, I remember at first too, I did not like the words. I thought the words, I wouldn't say I didn't think they were stupid, but like, I don't know, they just weren't hidden. But I don't mind them now. But I don't love them. And
Yeah.
no, a backstory of like some great meaning behind the song will not save it for me. Like unless he had like a pet parakeet that he like really loved or something.
The only thing I think I have for this song is I think there's a demo version of it that was included on like the iTunes only version, where I think the demo was actually recorded on a ukulele.
Oh, that's kind of cool, actually.
I'm pretty
I would
sure.
love to hear that.
I think it's on YouTube. I'll find it for you and send it to you after this. But
it's kind of Frames vibe.
Just and it reminds me of like A Caution for the Birds, which is to me like the Frames version of the song, where the only difference is the Frame song is like in a minor key, but it's
Frames
the same
one's
thing.
Pretty heavy.
Well, the Frame ones it gets heavy, unlike this song, Talking Bird, Death Cab, but they're both songs where like the majority of it is just like this kind of like slow kind of pace song where nothing in the song really excites me.
And this song also exposed something for me with this album. Something that I think that is kind of missing from this album is song structures. Most of the songs just mostly seem to be a verse, chorus, a pre-chorus. I don't even think a lot of them have bridges. There's not really a lot of like outro sections necessarily. And that was fine.
Like outros, but
they're outros, but like
Bixby and Long Division, or not Long Division, Pity and Fear definitely have like outros,
right? But I don't know. A lot of the songs kind of sit in one area. So like for a song like No Sunlight, that works perfect because it's a short little song.
I was literally just going to ask you because that song is basically just one portion of the song. The next portion is just like A, B, back and forth. So I was surprised that's one of your favorites because that's literally what No Sunlight is.
Well, hear me out. First off, the song is faster. It's catchier. And it's 2 minutes and 40 seconds. That's fairly short. There's good melodies throughout, like, the leads and overdubs, killer bass line. Ben's voice actually works really well for this song. Lyrics are pretty good, I would say. I like them. I don't have any issues. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it makes sense. It's short, it's sweet, it's condensed. But like a song like Talking Bird, it doesn't go anywhere, like you were saying. A song like that, you need like really good lyrics or some great vocal performance. And I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't cut it for me,
I get that. No, I get that. And like I said,
but it's grown on me.
So then I want to ask you about the other like portion of the album, the songs that are not the rock ones, which would include You Can Do Better Than Me, Grapevine Fires, Your New Twin Size Bed, and the closing track, The Ice Is Getting Thinner. Those songs definitely not being like the rock ones. Were those all like your lower on your list just because they're not rock? Were there any portions of those songs that you could enjoy?
Yeah, what's kind of funny is that I feel like with my friends, especially the music ones, I'm always like, oh yeah, I like heavy stuff, but you guys like it more than me. Like I'm the one that is like only listening to rock music, not metal. And then when it's you and I talking, you're like, oh, you must love it because it's rock. Like I'm now the heavier rock guy. It's funny how the dynamic goes. But yeah, I didn't like them as much as the other ones, but I still really liked some of them though. None of them were bad.
Which out of those that I just mentioned did you like the most out of them?
Oh gosh, okay. I guess I would probably say it's hard because I think Grapevine Fires is like a really cool song. Like it's a cool story. It's a good vibe, but that one is very one tone throughout.
But see, that one has actually a bridge where like the chords change and they actually sound pretty cool. At least in my opinion.
Did I miss the bridge in there? What part is the bridge?
The part where he sings the news reports on the radio is getting worse. That he throws in a chord in there that is not a weird chord, but because of the progression they have been playing, it's definitely different sounding than the rest of the song.
Oh, yeah, with like the dropout.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That
part's cool. And then I thought you'd appreciate the song because I believe it's in a different time signature.
Well, so is the song before it also is. They're both in 3/4. Or maybe 6/8. I haven't really counted.
And
that
Grapevine
hardcore.
Fires, I forget what it's called, but there's a particular drum pattern that he's playing, that Jason's playing.
He's doing a shuffle.
A shuffle, yeah, there you go. And I think it sounds fantastic.
I don't quite know if it's the Purdy Shuffle. If you have not seen the Bernard Purdy Shuffle video, I'm gonna have to show it to you.
I know of the Purdy Shuffle. I might not know that video, but I know the importance of it.
It's the only drum video you ever need to see.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, okay. So that one I do like.
And the keys are cool. I love like the electric keyboard that they're using.
Right. It really does sound great. So maybe that one might take the cake for me. And it does transition well from the previous track, You Can Do Better Than Me.
Which is like the shortest track, just underneath 2 minutes. And that song...
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah, it's 1:59. And that song, You Can Do Better Than Me, actually does give me like some Brian Wilson vibes.
See, I was wondering if it was going to be more... I'm going to feel so embarrassed if you say it's not, because I don't really listen to sound very much. Like, almost like kind of Sgt. Peppery in a way.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it's...
some of the songs, like When I'm 64, they have that kind of bounce.
It's almost like overly bright in the production and the sound. It's got like organs in the background to fill out the sound. It's got like a marching drum kind of beat, but I guess you said it's also in 3/4, which I actually never really noticed. And it's almost like an interlude track, but it's just long enough to where it's not. But then it has the outro where it ends with his vocals and just a normal piano instead of the organ, which I think is really cool. Which I think those couple songs, I think the structure they do kind of experiment with more as opposed to some of these other songs we've talked about where it is just straightforward verse, chorus, first chorus.
I suppose that's true.
But You Can Do Better Than Me is not like a top tier song because it does feel like kind of like a outlier of a song where it's not supposed to be the most serious song. It's supposed to kind of be this, especially because it comes after Talking Bird, which is kind of more slower, and then the following song, Grapevine Fires, is kind of one of the more depressing songs on the album, like with the story and the music.
Yeah, and I was something about this song is that I really like the lyrics in it. I thought they were really simple but good. Like he was talking about his old clothes don't fit him, because he's slipping through the years, and they hang like ghosts of the people I've seen. That whole little bit I thought was really cool, and especially because you're hearing it over the almost sarcastically happy music. If you really think about that contrast in tone, but it was one I did not like it on the first listen that much. I do remember I did write down a note that was happy 3/4 does not save the song. but no, I am liking it now. It was one of my least favorites too, but I actually prefer it over a couple of the other songs just because it is so infectiously happy. Like it's a grower. Yeah, for sure. And like it's kind of like Talking Bird in the sense that they have grown on me and I enjoy them because they do have a good vibe. Like Talking Bird is maybe one that you're not always in the mood for, but that could be said for You Can Do Better Than Me as well.
Yeah. And like you said, the lyrics are great, especially I just like he's singing that you can do better than me, but I can't do better than you. It's kind of this like, kind of like self-deprecation, I'm
just glad he only says that once in the song, because when I saw it was titled that, I was like, oh God, what am I getting? It's kind of
the same lyrics, that the same kind of style that he brings to the other song, Your New Twin Size Bed, which I love. I think Your New Twin Size Bed is one of my favorite lyrically, but I'm curious if the slowness of the song and the more chilled indie rockness of it made you not like it as much as like me.
Well, I don't know. This one, I think right now is kind of at the bottom for me because...
Ouch. I love this song. I don't know if I could put a top 5, but it could be number 5. I like it more than No Sunlight.
I don't know. I think the reason for me is it just gets lost in the album. Like I'm putting it on right now to reference it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this does sound pretty nice actually.
And it has a bridge.
It does. Okay, yeah, this one has a better structure, or more interesting structure.
Where his vocals actually get kind of a little bit more animated in the bridge, where he sings "You Got Me Terrified."
Yeah,
it makes it. He actually sings it like he's terrified a little bit.
The part that I wanted to bring up, maybe you'll understand this, maybe you won't. So there's a line in the song, and I can't even tell you exactly where it's at right now, but I wrote it down. Hope you have more luck than me. The way he says it and with the music, it's super cool. I do remember that being one of my favorites, and it kind of reminds me of BNL's song "Alternative Girlfriend." The little bit where he says like "fear of being old" or something like that, like the pre-chorus thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get a very similar vibe in that particular moment.
I can see that a little bit. Definitely not
It's nothing
I would have
crazy,
gone to, but yeah.
I did really like those changes. So I mean, I think this is one that I would appreciate more listening it by itself as opposed to on the album. And I think if I maybe do that a few more times, I could really grow on me.
In the middle of the album does like if you didn't have Long Division, I do think this second half you could say this album is front loaded. And I'm sure you probably would still say it's front loaded because like your first four favorites are the first four songs on the album. But I just like the whole like kind of story he tells in your new twin size bed. Now the closing track, The Ice Is Getting Thinner, used to be my least favorite for the longest time, but just like this last year when I was kind of even diving into their music more, I really learned to appreciate it. It's a very sparse song. It's basically just one electric guitar playing this like progression the whole time, him and then just him singing. And then there's one point there's like some arpeggios in the background with another guitar. But other than that, it's a very kind of, bone dry song. And
you're forgetting the best part,
which is what?
The slide guitar.
Oh yeah, that's right. There is the solo in the song. Yeah, there is slide guitar. You're right. But that wasn't enough to save the song for me when I first heard the album. But I now appreciate the whole song as the whole thing. But it was my least favorite for the longest time because I found it just a little boring.
Yeah, it was. I had mixed feelings, and I know exactly why it was. I had mixed feelings because I think it is a really beautiful song. I think it's well written. I like the music a lot in it, actually, even for it being so sparse. But the song is just so sad, and I feel
very moody.
And this is where he felt most tender. Like he feels sincere throughout the album, but this one I feel like I feel like he's transmitting his emotions the best here.
But do you want me to do a 180 on you to change your perspective of the song by telling you that it's backstory?
Not yet. Don't tell me. I didn't hear what you said. All I wanted to add though was that once it like gets going and you kind of get bored of it, that's when this really emotional slide guitar comes in, and it's
after the bridge, because there is again, the song does have a bridge.
Okay, maybe there's more structure than I thought. But point being, I do really like the song. I wouldn't say it's my least favorite, but in a way, I kind of would say it's my least favorite just because it's really sad. And so I don't know if I would listen to it very often compared to the rest of them.
Well, what if I told you that when he was playing this song during his like YouTube live stream COVID shows, he played the song. He played it, I think, on piano for some reason. And cool. I believe he gave the backstory. And I don't know if he was like joking or if this is real, but I think he said that some documentary approached him, some filmmaker, and said, we're making a documentary on like climate control.
Bro, what?
And we're shooting some shots of polar bears and how they're affected by the ice melting. And they wanted a song from him, and he wrote the song, and they didn't end up using it, and then they put it on this album. So the song is not even about a relationship falling apart, even though it is but supposedly he also had this in mind as it being literally the ice is melting, the ice is getting thinner.
I don't know how I'm supposed to react to that. I don't know how I feel. I'm kind of having a breakdown right now. But okay, well, that makes it actually even better because props to him for making a song suited for polar bears that is also as good on its own. That's actually really cool. I hope that's true. I mean, he doesn't sound like he'd be a fibber, even though his last name rhymes with fibber. So, okay, that was cool to learn.
But so it sounded like you weren't like, I would say pleasantly surprised, but like this album delivered what you thought it would deliver. Like you weren't blown away, but you really enjoyed it and it didn't disappoint.
Yeah, it did not disappoint. I think the most impressive part about this album is the quality. So
Yes.
even though I maybe wish some of the bridges of the songs were a little more distinct, even though I wish, there was some more of the explosive songs sprinkled throughout, I mean, all the lyrics are good, all the music is good, the performances are great, production's great. Like, like what else do you want from them?
Yeah, and I will say that if I was to give you another one of their albums, I might even go with the last one that featured their guitarist Chris Walla, because even though he didn't produce it, that album's guitar tones are so like fantastic. And even though I don't think it has some of the strongest songwriting, some of the songs are fantastic, and then some of them are like, eh. And it is a little divisive amongst fans. But I know, like, earlier this year when we saw each other, I played you a couple clips, and I remember you saying you love the way the guitar sounded, you love the way like the electric piano sounded on some of those songs that I played you clips of. So if you love this album because of the production and the quality, that might be an album I give you as opposed to some of their other really big albums.
Interesting.
Like
Yeah, and you said that there's
Plans is like their other big album too, but I find like you might like the production on Kintsugi even more.
I've never even heard of Plans. I've seen the album cover for
well, that's the one that has
Translanticism.
I Will Fall Into the Dark, which is arguably their biggest song, which you claim you don't know, but we'll see about that later.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad it sounded like you enjoyed it.
I did. No, I was very happy with this. Very pleased to hear this record, and I will definitely be listening to it some more. Would I buy it on vinyl? Did you have a catchy name for that? For this segment?
To
vinyl
or yeah. Or there has to be something about like rhyming the word final, like final with vinyl.
Oh, maybe. Does it win the spin? That'd be cool.
The vinyl countdown. I don't know, something like that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. If we're doing this, is gonna be like a new segment. Would you buy this on vinyl?
Yeah, I definitely would.
Oh, nice.
I mean, would I go online to order it right now? No, but if I saw it, if I go to a record store, I will be looking in the Death Cab section.
Yeah,
Bam.
and if you found it,
I like the album cover too. By the way.
Oh yeah, I love the album cover.
Cool title too. I don't know what it means, but it's cool.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from because it's not like in any of the song lyrics, as far as I know. But the vinyl version of this, you know how like the album cover's got these like just a bunch of these really colorful, kind of like rectangles.
Yeah. The narrow
on
stairs,
the vinyl cover. Some of the rectangles are actually cutouts, and the color comes from the inside record sleeve, kind of like Pearl Jam's Yield. So when you pull out the record sleeve, some of those blocks become white because instead of you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So it's actually
that's pretty cool.
It's one of the few records I own where the cover is actually kind of custom made, because the CD version doesn't do that as far as I know. So, but no, I'm glad you liked it. Definitely, if people listening to this haven't heard this album, go give it a listen. If you have, let us know how you like this album. If it's one of your favorite Death Cabs, or maybe this is an unpopular opinion. Maybe this is one of your least favorites. And I can see in the future definitely giving you another Death Cab album for sure. So
I would enjoy that. Yeah, I'm curious what you would give me. I know you said unfortunately they don't have any albums that are just full throttle on the rock side.
No, but their earlier stuff, you might like it for the kind of stripped back lo-fi production. So
I've been getting a little more into the whole indie lo-fi thing. I have some friends that are into that, but
there's definitely
this was a good step in that direction.
Yeah. So, well, all right. Next week we're going to be back with Tony's suggestion of the Sly and the Family Stone album titled Fresh. And stay tuned for that. And until then, we hope you take care, and you'll be hearing from us soon. Bye-bye.